In just 18 months, food prices in the U.S. have surged by over 30%. But for many cities, the hardship isn't merely a matter of statistics. It's empty shelves. It's children going to bed hungry. It's local markets devoid of vegetables, meat, or fish. In a country like America, where food scarcity was once unthinkable, the specter of hunger feels surreal. Yet today, cities large and small, from the struggling South to the once prosperous Midwest, are grappling daily to secure a meal. Why has America descended into this crisis? And which are the 5 cities hit hardest by the food shortage? Join us as we explore and ask, if even America is going hungry, where is the world headed? Number 1. Brownsville, Texas. Nestled in the southernmost tip of Texas, just miles from the Mexican border, Brownsville has long been recognized as one of America's poorest cities. But the events unfolding in 2025 have painted an even bleaker picture than ever before. According to the latest U.S. Census Bureau data, 30.6% of Brownsville's residents live below the poverty line. The median household income here is roughly $41,000 per year, less than half the national average of over $74,000. With such fragile finances, the recent surge in food prices, up 35 to 40% in just 12 months, has struck like a direct blow to the livelihoods of thousands of families. On the winding streets of downtown, now hiring signs are plastered everywhere, yet, paradoxically, food assistance centers are perpetually overcrowded. A painful irony is at play. Jobs exist, but the wages from these jobs can't cover a basic grocery cart. If you saw such a job posting, would you apply? Per an April 2025 report from Feeding America, Brownsville ranks among the top 10 U.S. cities with the highest rates of food insecurity. At least 4 out of every 10 families face hunger for several days each month. Local food banks, like the Food Bank of the Rio Grande Valley, served about 55,000 meals monthly in 2023. In Q1 of this year, that number skyrocketed to over 130,000 meals per month, with resources depleting rapidly. At a food distribution event last week, hundreds of cars formed a nearly 2-mile line, waiting in 36 degrees Celsius heat for a few bags of rice, cereal, and canned goods. Brownsville isn't a city lacking effort. Community gardening programs, food vouchers, and cash assistance have had some success in the past. But when external forces, global inflation, tariffs on imported agricultural products collide, these small-scale initiatives feel like life rafts in a stormy sea. Some stories never make the headlines, like that of Mrs. Lopez, a 67-year-old widow who daily chooses between buying diabetes medication or food for herself. Or the children at Brownsville's public schools, where enrollment in free breakfast programs jumped 22% in Q1 2025 alone. The nagging question is this: if a city in the heart of America with fertile land, a robust agricultural base, and decades of community development policies is buckling under such strain, where is the system failing? And beyond that, is Brownsville an outlier or a harbinger of a broader, quieter crisis creeping across America's smaller cities? In Brownsville, silence is familiar. There are no massive protests, no thousands of sensational headlines, only empty supermarkets, depleted food banks, and the eyes of residents, eyes that no longer expect miracles. Brownsville isn't an isolated tale. It's a mirror reflecting the subtle but dangerous cracks in the foundation of modern America. Number 2. Des Moines, Iowa. In the heart of America's agricultural belt, few could have imagined that Des Moines, the capital of Iowa, would face a worsening food crisis. In a region renowned for its endless fields of corn and soybeans, one would expect residents to be the last to feel the burden of rising food costs. Yet, the reality in 2025 proves otherwise. Even in the epicenter of U.S. agricultural production, the cost of a meal is increasingly out of reach. This paradox is no accident. According to a March 2025 report from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, average food prices in the Midwest have risen by 27.8% year over year, the steepest increase in over 40 years. In Des Moines, the situation is even graver. Essential items like beef, eggs, and produce have seen price hikes of 35 to 40% in just 12 months. The cause? New tariffs imposed in early 2025 have driven up the costs of imported fertilizers, animal feed, and farming equipment. Agricultural production costs in Iowa rose by an average of 19% in Q1 2025 per the Iowa Farm Bureau. Like a domino effect, the price of food outputs has skyrocketed. Des Moines residents aren't just seeing higher prices in supermarkets, they're feeling the squeeze at local farmers markets, once a point of community pride, now a luxury for many households. Feeding America reports that the number of Des Moines residents relying on food banks in 2025 has surged by 28% compared to the previous year. The Food Bank of Iowa now serves over 215,000 meals monthly, double the figure from the same period in 2023. Sadder still, the hardest hit are the farmers themselves, those who should benefit from soaring agricultural prices. Most Iowa farmers operate within cooperatives or sell to middlemen, leaving them little control over final sale prices. While production costs climb, the real profits for many small farms have dropped by 15 to 20% in a single year. An Iowa State University report warns that if this trend persists, within 2 years, up to 22% of small farms around Des Moines could be forced to shut down or sell to large corporations. When farmers, the very people producing food, can't afford to eat, what hope is there for the current food distribution system? The ripple effects are spreading. Des Moines schools have seen a surge in students enrolling in free or reduced price meal programs. In the Des Moines Public School District, this rate exceeded 67% in Q1 2025. Local charities report implementing ration cuts since February, limiting families to just a few basic food items to stretch dwindling supplies. There are quiet, poignant stories. An anonymous supermarket worker shared in an interview, "We see more people standing at the counter, counting every last penny, then silently putting back a pack of butter or a carton of milk. Not because they don't want to buy, but because they simply can't afford it." A pressing question hangs over Des Moines' windswept skies. If America's agricultural heartland is struggling this much, how dire must conditions be in other cities, those entirely dependent on external food supplies? The food crisis in Des Moines hasn't erupted with fanfare or dominated headlines. But it's simmering, steadily eroding residents' faith in food self-sufficiency, once their greatest source of pride. And when a society begins to doubt its ability to feed itself, the deepest cracks in modern America start to show. Number 3. San Francisco, California. From the gleaming skyscrapers, sleek Teslas cruising down boulevards, and bustling cafes of San Francisco, it's hard to believe this city is grappling with a severe food crisis. But beneath the glitz lies a heartbreaking story of inequality, where many residents can't afford a decent meal. According to the latest report from the San Francisco Department of Human Services, April 2025, over 24% of the city's population is food insecure, uncertain of where their next meal will come from. This is the highest rate among West Coast cities, surpassing Los Angeles and Portland. The irony is stark. San Francisco doesn't lack food. Supermarkets overflow with goods, and upscale restaurants serve dinners costing hundreds of dollars. The problem is that the price of basic necessities has soared beyond the reach of many low-wage workers. A standard loaf of white bread now costs $6.50, up 48% from early 2024. A gallon of milk, once a staple, ranges from $7 to $9 depending on the store. Meanwhile, the median income for service workers, restaurant staff, cleaners, delivery drivers, hovers around $36,000 annually, per Q1 2025 Bureau of Labor Statistics data. As a result, even full-time workers increasingly rely on food assistance programs. The SF Marine Food Bank, one of the Bay Area's largest food bank networks, reports a 31% surge in residents seeking food aid over the past 6 months. The strain is visible on the streets. In neighborhoods like Tenderloin and south of Market, Soma, long lines for free food distributions have become commonplace. Homeless encampments, already crowded, are swelling with families newly evicted for inability to pay rent. A March 2025 University of California, San Francisco study found that 62% of the city's homeless cited regular lack of food as a primary reason for their rapid health decline. This fuels a massive healthcare cost spiral for a city already grappling with a $1.2 billion budget deficit this year. What has pushed San Francisco, one of America's wealthiest cities, into this predicament? Beyond general inflation, 2025's tariff policies play a significant role. High tariffs on imports from Mexico, Canada, and Europe have slashed the supply of fresh produce in California, particularly fruits and vegetables. Rising fuel costs have also driven up domestic shipping expenses, pushing food prices in urban centers like San Francisco to unprecedented levels. Moreover, income inequality in San Francisco has worsened dramatically. A Brookings Institution report notes that the gap between the top 10% and bottom 10% of earners widened by 12% in just 2 years, making it one of the most unequal cities in the U.S. This wealth divide permeates every corner of urban life. Small grocers shutter, unable to compete with high-end supermarket chains, while affordable neighborhoods are displaced by luxury condos. A piercing question emerges. When a city synonymous with innovation and prosperity leaves hundreds of thousands struggling to eat daily, can its development model still be called successful? San Francisco's food crisis isn't just about the poor, it's a rigorous test of societal ethics, how a community treats its most vulnerable members. And if it fails this test, San Francisco and many other American cities may face a far steeper cost in the future. Number 4, Kansas City, Missouri. Unlike major cities where skyrocketing prices are the primary driver of food crises, the story in Kansas City, Missouri stems from a quieter issue: the disappearance of grocery stores in low-income neighborhoods. Here, the problem isn't just a few expensive items, it's the collapse of an entire system of food access. According to the USDA Economic Research Service's April 2025 report, Kansas City has over 60 areas classified as food deserts, high-poverty neighborhoods where the average distance to the nearest grocery store exceeds 1.6 kilometers. In districts like East Side or Blue Hills, residents must travel over 5 kilometers to find a supermarket with fresh produce. The crisis in Kansas City isn't solely driven by inflation or tariffs, it's fueled by the mass exodus of major retailers. Over the past 2 years, Walmart shuttered 3 superstores in low-income areas, and Save-A-Lot announced its complete withdrawal from the city's east side. The reason? These corporations cited high operating costs and low profits as incompatible with their business strategies. The result is despair for already struggling communities. Residents are left relying on small convenience stores where processed, low-nutrition foods dominate, often at exorbitant prices. A pack of instant noodles at these shops can cost $1.50, double the price at a discount supermarket. The Mid-America Regional Council reports that the percentage of children in Kansas City living in food-insecure households now exceeds 27%, up nearly 6% in just 12 months, the fastest rise among mid-sized U.S. cities. Another statistic from Harvesters, the Community Food Network, reveals that over 226,000 people in the Kansas City area rely on food aid monthly, a 28% increase from last year. Notably, the number of families with at least one full-time worker still needing free food has surged. Why has a city once celebrated for its vibrant farmers markets and diverse food culture fallen into this state? Beyond the retailer's retreat, inadequate investment in public transportation is a critical factor. Nearly 40% of residents in the poorest areas lack personal vehicles, and the sparse bus system makes traveling to larger supermarkets a costly, time-consuming ordeal. The city government has launched initiatives like the KC Healthy Corner Stores program to encourage small shops to sell fresh produce. However, an internal March 2025 assessment found that only about 12% of participating stores could maintain a steady supply of fresh food. Another grim irony: while poor neighborhoods grapple with food scarcity, wealthier suburbs like Overland Park and Lee's Summit boast supermarkets brimming with goods where price increases, though present, remain manageable for most residents. This highlights a sobering reality. Kansas City's food crisis isn't just about supply and demand. It's about geography, infrastructure, and, at its core, the deep-rooted inequality woven into the city's social fabric. If suburbs continue to thrive while central neighborhoods become food deserts, Kansas City's future faces not only economic instability, but a profound social divide. Once again, a piercing question arises: can a city truly prosper when hundreds of thousands of its residents worry daily about their next meal? Kansas City stands at a crossroads. Either find a way to reconnect its left-behind communities, or face the long-term cost of deepening division. Number 5, Washington, D.C. To many, Washington, D.C., the political epicenter of the United States, might seem immune to crises affecting everyday life. Yet behind the grandeur of congressional buildings and glittering avenues, a stark reality unfolds. Tens of thousands of residents struggle daily to secure enough food. According to a Capital Area Food Bank report from April 2025, 1 in 3 D.C. residents, roughly 230,000 people, faces food insecurity. Alarmingly, this figure has surged by nearly 18% in just 18 months, the sharpest increase since the 2008 Great Recession. What sets Washington, D.C. apart from other cities is its extreme wealth disparity. Neighborhoods like Georgetown and DuPont Circle boast median household incomes exceeding $150,000 annually, while just blocks away in Wards 7 and 8, over 35% of residents live below the federal poverty line. In areas like Ward 8, food deserts are particularly acute. According to the latest D.C. Policy Center data, only 3 supermarkets serve over 85,000 residents in Ward 8, an average of 1 supermarket per nearly 28,000 people. In contrast, wealthier areas have supermarket densities 5 to 7 times higher. The irony is glaring. In the nation's capital, home to major agricultural, economic, and welfare policies, there are communities whose only meal option might come from a roadside fast food joint. Compounding this, food inflation driven by recent tariff policies has hit Washington, D.C. as hard as any city. Per the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics March 2025 data, food prices in the D.C., Maryland, Virginia region rose by an average of 9.8% year over year. Essential items like eggs, milk, and vegetables saw double-digit increases, with greens spiking by 14.3%. But the issue isn't just prices. A February 2025 Feeding America survey found that 58% of D.C. residents reported it was very difficult to access safe, fresh food, a rate nearly double the national average. The question looms: how can the capital, where anti-poverty policies are drafted and approved, harbor such deep chasms of inequality? Part of the answer lies in demographics. D.C. has one of the highest rates of single-parent households in the U.S., particularly single-mother families. According to the Census Bureau, nearly 46% of Black households in D.C. are led by single mothers, a group especially vulnerable to food price fluctuations. Additionally, D.C.'s high cost of living erodes working families' incomes. An Economic Policy Institute report estimates that a family of 4 needs at least $106,000 annually for a bare minimum standard of living in D.C., not a comfortable life, just the basics. Meanwhile, median household incomes in Wards 7 and 8 hover between $40,000 and $45,000 per year. These cold numbers reveal that D.C.'s food crisis isn't just about food, it's a microcosm of deeper issues: systemic inequality, urban planning failures, and the inability to protect the most vulnerable populations. Can we call a city successful when prosperity is confined to a few enclaves, while the rest languish in struggle and poverty? Washington, D.C., the heart of American power, shows that sometimes the greatest crises unfold silently beneath the gleaming domes of authority. Reflecting on the 5 cities stretching from the southern border to the heart of American power, a stark picture emerges. The food crisis is no longer confined to remote regions or uniquely impoverished communities. It is creeping into the very centers once deemed untouchable. Brownsville, Des Moines, San Francisco, Kansas City, Washington, D.C., each with its own distinct context, yet all share a common reality: soaring food prices, shrinking supplies, incomes failing to keep pace with living costs, and deepening chasms of inequality. What's striking is that these crises didn't erupt overnight. They are the culmination of multiple factors: global economic volatility, tariff policies disrupting supply chains, persistent inflation, and internal shortcomings in resource allocation and support for vulnerable communities. The real question isn't just, how do we get food to those who are hungry? It's also, how do we restore trust, ensure fairness, and build an economic system that leaves no one behind? At its core, the food crisis is not merely about today's meal. It's a warning sign of the profound vulnerabilities a society is enduring and will continue to face without meaningful change. The information in this video is compiled from the latest publicly available data as of April 2025, including reports from the Capital Area Food Bank, U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, Feeding America, and the Census Bureau. The content aims to provide a comprehensive analysis of the current state of American society without attributing blame to any individual, organization, or administration.